Have you ever felt the stirrings of something deeper within, restless yearning that seems to come from somewhere beyond your conscious mind? A feeling that, no matter how hard you try, you cannot ignore, a sense that you are meant for something greater, something more meaningful than the routine of your daily life. This is not just a passing thought. This is the awakening of your soul, calling you to something higher. In the mystical tradition of Sohrevardi, the Persian philosopher and mystic, this deep yearning is the first step in a profound journey, a journey from the darkness of ignorance to the radiance of divine light. Sohrevardi speaks of the light of God, which is not an abstract concept but an actual force of transformation that resides within each of us, waiting to be recognized. It is not merely intellectual or conceptual knowledge, but a light that touches the very core of your being, revealing to you the hidden truths of existence. But how do you know when this light has begun to shine? How can you recognize its presence in your life? Suravarti teaches that there are 7 key signs that mark the soul's awakening. These signs, often subtle and imperceptible at first, are the soul's way of signaling its readiness to receive the divine light. Each sign represents a stage of spiritual evolution, a step toward greater clarity, peace, and divine understanding. Let us explore these 7 signs and how they guide the soul on its transformative journey toward the divine. The first sign, the stirring of the heart. The first sign of spiritual awakening is often a sense of restlessness that emerges within the heart. This restlessness is not just a fleeting discomfort. It is a deep, underlying feeling that something is missing in life. The things that once brought you joy or comfort no longer satisfy you. The world's distractions, once alluring, now seem shallow and empty. Suravarti teaches that this restlessness is not a negative force. Rather, it is the heart's call to return to its divine origin. It is the heart's yearning to reconnect with the source, a yearning that has been buried under layers of worldly pursuits. As Suravarti writes, the heart is a mirror, and when it is cleansed of worldly attachments, it reflects the divine light. The awakening begins when the heart acknowledges its emptiness and seeks something greater, something beyond the superficial distractions of everyday life. This inner stir is the first sign of spiritual awakening. The restlessness you feel is not an accident. It is a message from the soul, telling you that you are being called to a higher purpose. The second sign, the revelation of symbols. As the heart begins to open to the divine, the next sign is the appearance of symbols. These symbols may appear in many forms, repeated images, numbers, words, or even encounters with people or situations that seem strangely meaningful. Suravarti explains that these symbols are not mere coincidence. They are the language of the divine. The world around you is filled with signs, and the soul begins to perceive these signs more clearly as it attunes itself to the light within. Symbols are reflections of the divine truth that exist within the fabric of the universe. They are the way the divine speaks to you, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of your path. Suravarti writes, symbols are the garments of the truth. They conceal and reveal the divine presence. The repetition of these symbols is not random, but is a form of communication, a message from the divine, telling you that you are not alone and that your path is being illuminated step by step. When you see the same word or number again and again, or when something catches your attention unexpectedly, take notice. These are signs that you are being led toward greater clarity. The third sign, the fire of restlessness. As the soul continues to evolve, the restlessness deepens, transforming into what Suravarti calls the fire of divine love. This fire is not destructive but purifying. It is a force that burns away the ego, the false sense of self that holds you back from experiencing the fullness of the divine light. This fire can feel overwhelming at times. You may experience a deep inner turmoil, a sense of being unmoored from the world around you. Yet, Suravarti teaches that this inner disquiet is a necessary step in the process of purification. The soul, like metal in a forge, must endure this fire in order to be refined. The fire of love is a fire that burns but does not consume, Suravardi says. It refines the soul, making it pure and radiant. This fire is the soul's transformation. It is the discomfort that precedes spiritual growth, the heat that shapes you into a vessel capable of holding the divine light. The fourth sign, the need to let go. The process of spiritual awakening often involves letting go of the attachments that have defined your identity. Sohrevardi speaks of how the soul must detach from the material world in order to be free to embrace the divine light. This detachment is not an act of renunciation but of spiritual release, the shedding of the ego, the release of past desires, and the abandonment of worldly illusions. The attachments you have to your identity, your possessions, or your relationships may begin to feel like chains. These attachments weigh down the soul, preventing it from reaching its true potential. The soul cannot hold the divine while it clings to the temporal, Suravarti writes. The heart must be freed from the bonds of the world to receive the light of truth. In this stage, what may feel like loss is actually liberation. The soul is shedding the past in order to make room for the greater gifts that the divine has prepared. The fifth sign, the quiet surrender. Once the soul has experienced the inner fire and the release of attachment, a deep sense of trust arises. Suravarti teaches that the soul, after being purified, learns to surrender to the divine flow of life. This surrender is not an act of submission, but an act of grace, a recognition that the divine is always present, guiding the soul with gentle hands. This quiet surrender brings peace. The soul no longer feels the need to control everything. It begins to trust in the divine timing, knowing that each step is guided by a higher wisdom. Divine grace is like a river, Suravarti says, is written into your destiny. You may not see it, but it is always flowing, carrying you through every moment. This surrender allows the soul to rest in the embrace of the divine, to let go of fear and doubt, and to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. The sixth sign, the light of clarity. As the soul surrenders to the divine flow, clarity begins to emerge. This clarity is not the result of intellectual understanding, but of spiritual insight, a sudden knowing that arises from deep within. Suravarti teaches that the soul, when is purified, is capable of seeing the truth clearly, unclouded by ego or worldly desires. The divine light, which once seemed distant or veiled, now shines brightly within. When the heart is free of attachments, it becomes the perfect vessel for divine light, Suravarti writes. This clarity is the result of a soul that has been transformed, refined by the fire of divine love, and now ready to see the world through the eyes of the divine. The journey that began in darkness has led to a place of light and understanding. The seventh sign, the return to the source. The final sign of spiritual awakening is the return to the source, the realization that you are one with the divine. Sohrevardi speaks of this union as the ultimate goal of the soul, a moment when the soul recognizes that it is not separate from the divine light but is, in fact, an extension of it. This realization is not an external event but an inner knowing. It is the moment when the soul fully comprehends that it is always connected to the divine, always surrounded by divine light. The divine light is within you, Suravarti teaches. It is only through the purification of the heart that you are able to recognize it. The soul has returned home, back to its source, where it is at peace. As you walk through these seven signs, remember that each step is a step closer to the divine. The signs you see, the restlessness you feel, the light that is emerging within you, they are all part of the path towards spiritual awakening. Trust that the divine is always guiding you, even when the way seems unclear. If this journey of awakening has resonated with you, please like and subscribe to our channel so you can continue walking with us on this path toward the divine light.